On today's video, we start our coverage of Lost Kingdom 52, and more specifically of Kingdom 411 going into Kingsland. They went up against Kingdom 430, among other kingdoms in there, and in this video, we got a ton of action by the kingdom in 411, as well as a lot of rally reports with so many different combinations of Attila Takedas, different stats, different buffs across the board, and a lot of different awesome results. Tons of reports, lots of action, and good stuff out of the house of 411. So sit back, drop a like on the video. Hey there YouTube, welcome back to Gekko Gaming. This Kingsland opened up, 411 swung in, and the lag was insane as they went up head to head against Kingdom 430. Whew, we got a lot of action coming up, but a ton of lag early on. Half of the stuff didn't load. We waited a little bit till the flag started meeting and the rally started coming out, and things slowly picked up in terms of being able to watch anything. And from there, mayhem ensued. I'm a sponsored content creator by RALLIES. If you enjoy this content, consider dropping a like on the video. Of course, hit that subscribe button. We got a part 2 coming up tomorrow of this madness. And yeah, there's really not too much to talk about. I just want to start off with a little bit of a introduction. Kingdom 411 is very known as 411K, one of the biggest alliances in that kingdom, if not the biggest one. Were the winners of Osiris League, and they won the 2 matches Osiris Invitational won from their realm, and they got their name on the board essentially as that kingdom that really did a tremendous amount of work. I had previously covered them, and I told you before Osiris League itself that 411 was a nasty kingdom. We covered one of their KBKs a long time ago where they went 3v1, and won, which was kind of nuts. Granted, the 3 that went against them at some point got upset and went at each other instead of against them, but still, they held those 3 long enough for them to start fighting each other. 411 has been a nasty kingdom, and y'all really wanted to see their action. You wanted to see them at their best doing their work, and so we're going to cover that. But don't get this wrong. Kingdom 430, that was their opposition, were no joke. As a matter of fact, the first rally I managed to catch was one of theirs on 411. Now, in these kinds of situations, Kingdom 430 knew what they're going up against. Kingdom 430 knew how tenacious Kingdom 411 can be, how populated they are, especially after their win in Osiris League. They got a very big influx of players, as well as a big group from JWM, among other things that went into 411. They created a really strongly overpowered kingdom in there, and overpowered I mean in a good way. And they're just a force to reckon with. Now, the thing about this is, in these cases, a lot of the opposition doesn't really do much to push. First and foremost, as you can see, 411 is using a Richard on a flag. That was a huge question mark for me. But later on, they sent me some of these reports we will feature in this video still. Reports of a Richard defending the flag against Attila Takeda. Stay tuned for that coming throughout the video. But the one thing that is super important to highlight in here is the mentality factor going up against someone like 411. In 90% of cases, folks really fall to the trap of like, oh, we're going up against someone who's so much stronger than us, or so much more known than us, or so much more stacked than we are, so forth and so on, that they tend to fall for a little bit of a psychological defeat in which after 1 or 2 rallies that are unsuccessful, people pretty much give up. And it's happened across the board for a lot of different big kingdoms. But 430 were not like that at all. 430 kept sending out rallies consistently. They knew when to cancel their rallies. They knew when to send new ones. They sent rallies while getting hit. They did pretty much everything they needed to do correctly in order to combat a kingdom like 411. In these types of fights, as you can see, there was a rally, and then a fight up on the top there. That rally got destroyed out of its place, and then another rally hitting that flag up on the top, that red flag that's being built. While that's happening down below on the screen right there, you can see an Attila Takeda by 411S. Kingdom 430 did exactly what you should be doing when you feel like you're potentially on your back foot. At this stage, they were not on their back foot yet. They were fighting tooth and nail at this stage too to ensure that they'll always be in this match and in the game. And the way you do that is, again, by pure aggression. You have to be able to also defend, of course, but at the end of the day, it's very simple to do both if you are very coordinated. For example, if you send a rally with 2 or 3 people sending open field support with the rally, while the rest of the folks in the rally are in a flag defending the flag, you essentially can get to a point where within like 7 members of a kingdom, you can send a rally and defend the flag fairly well. Now, of course, you want to have more than that. This scene is something you guys might remember from that Tintin getting zeroed video, which we had a little while back, talking about the lag that caused him not to be able to log into his account, and he got zeroed as a result of it. Carded up on the top right if you haven't seen that, but it's one of those things, right? You can't cave to a kingdom's like name, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure 430 knew that this was a huge uphill battle for them, and potentially a hill that they were not necessarily going to be able to climb over, but one that they were at least going to give it very best. Now, at the time I was recording this, there was also Karak going on. This is a little bit ago. Their pass, level 8 pass at this point is already open. 411 managed to take that pass. 430 actually fought them back there for a little bit and dropped a substantial amount of forts. If you go to Lost Kingdom 52, you'll see all that happening right now. You have a quick report, a first report, a nasty report for us to take a look at. You thought that this was going to be just a video of a lot of action without numbers. Well, bam! Look at that. First report off the bat, nasty stuff. 411S against M430. Daddy die hard. There was a nice defense, but it clearly was not good enough to hold up against that nasty Attila Takeda that did some crazy positive trades for Attila Takeda. As you saw, we will provide to you in this video every single rally's statistics, and I want you to keep your eyes on the stats of these Attila Takedas. There are multiple different types of Attila Takedas, some that win these kinds of situations against an Artemisia YSG, and other combinations of Attila Takeda with lesser types of certain stats that are not trading positively. For example, you can see a big difference between these two Attila Takedas, a strong cavalry attack Attila Takeda versus a more defensive health Attila Takeda. A better result on the attack on Attila Takeda against Attila Takeda, obviously, as the attack is really what matters when it comes to fighting with Attila Takeda per se. When it comes to Attila Takeda versus Attila Takeda, when it comes to fighting against a garrison, it's a completely separate story. But just like you see every single rally that we could catch in reports, we show you the statistics so you can kind of figure out what went down. I don't know what happened here. I guess I really don't know what happened here. This report must be bugged because I don't believe someone held down to 1.2 million troops with Julius Caesar alone, when there were so many potential garrison pairs in that flag that were not at the time captaining. So I really don't know what happened there. I feel like that bugged out a little bit. But yeah, this Attila Takeda did a stupendous amount of damage, and this is one of many reports coming in this video. I'd encourage you to keep track on what kinds of Attila Takedas did what kind of damage, because you will see different results based on different stats. And that's really the highlight of this video. All these reports are going to give you a better indication of what kind of numbers you can see out of an Attila Takeda and what kind of results those yield. This was Tintin, we showed you guys before. He unfortunately got zeroed out throughout this process. As you can see, he's getting double rallied, but M430 at the same time are rallying up on the top right side right there. So I had to leave this piece of footage out once more. Double rally on 32 million power player. While Attila Takeda is going up against a flag that has a Richard in it. Huge question mark on that Richard, but you'll see one report in this video and a couple more in the next video with the trades. I'll tell you this. There's one thing I learned out of 411 that really surprised me. It's not a matter, you don't necessarily have to win an exchange, but you do want to make sure that when you have an exchange that you lost, that you lose it with the least amount of possible losses. That sounds kind of like brainless, right? It's like, duh. But at the same time, it really isn't. Because once you start thinking about having a flag being defended against an Attila Takeda with a Richard on it, you'll realize very quickly that even though Richard is not the best commander to be there, especially not like a Richard Constantine type of scenario that you see in here, when you see this report with that pairing, you'll notice that it did indeed not trade favorably for 411, but it also did not trade too miserably. And so 411 said to themselves, we don't think we have enough garrison commanders to go around and ensure that every flag has the best garrison pairs against Attila Takeda. Quite frankly, it shouldn't be something that we have to focus on too much because there are multiple flags getting rallied consistently, and we want to focus more on our aggression than on our defense. And so they set a very, very common pair of commanders that you'll have a good portion of players having them at a good shape, which is a Richard Constantine. Richard Constantine, I believe, is one of the favorite pairs I think it's Sloughty's favorite pair of commanders for defending. I think it's Sloughty. If it's not Sloughty, I believe it's Arcs or Aki. One of the big leaders out there really likes this pair of commanders. And the trade wasn't favorable for 411, but it was enough for them to be able to swarm the rally, for them to be able to hit the rally with a counter rally and allow that flag to continually take reinforcement. And the trades were not bad. I'll tell you that a couple of flags that I saw and reports had differences of like 15, 20, 25k dead more in favor against the 411, but we're talking about numbers such as like where those end up being like 10 or 15% more deaths for 411, which is very, very, very meaningful, 10, 15% more, but not that meaningful that they weren't returning that favor with favorable trades. Now, of course, even these kinds of pairs, you can see a Charles Martel Constantine taking a massive, massive dump. Attila Takeda is just taking a dump on these guys, quite frankly. That was a bit too fast on the stats. I apologize for that. We're going to take a look at something very close to that, which is this right here. 92% cavalry health, 278% attack, and favorable trades. I mean, it's crazy, right? Because we have seen Attila Takeda lose to Charles Martel Constantine in the past. We have seen that happen. And yet, these guys are still not able to hold favorably against these types of Attila Takedas. This emphasizes once more the very realistic thing that I keep telling you, which is not every report you will see will tell you the reality. In majority of cases, what ends up happening is that folks are looking to show you what you want to see rather than what's actually there. Look at this defense by Hulk. Hulk is someone that I can tell you has some of the nastiest equipment I know. And look at this. He went up against an Attila Takeda and had a 2-for-1 trade with a pair of commanders that is very well stacked in terms of equipment, very well stacked in terms of their talent builds, very well stacked in terms of everything. And all that was left to do is for that Attila Takeda to hit to give it the proof, right? So theoretically, by my video in here, if I wanted to sell to you a perfect garrison pair, I would tell you, look, Artemisia YSG did 2-for-1 trade, and Charles Martel Constantine did not trade favorably at all. We don't know what the stats are of those commanders. If we start comparing our report in which Attila Takeda did bad against the Charles Martel Constantine, you'll see that the stats are very, very different. And so it's super critical for you all to keep an eye on the stats always in the reports that you see, because those stats will really give you such a better understanding on why the results you're seeing are on the screen. These guys went nuts. Quite frankly, I'm kind of like rambling on about different subjects that have to do with what's going on the screen. But I mean, just look at that. There's freaking a flag that's getting swarmed, and the rally is getting swarmed, and the counter rally, and there is another flag getting rallied that got burned, and from so much lag, there's a rally standing next to it that does nothing. At any point in time, you had like 5 rallies on the screen. We watched this live on stream as well, and at any point in time, you could see like 5 rallies, 4 rallies, 3 flags getting burned. I mean, frowny faces running all over the place, and it was like this consistent action. I can tell you that from the folks that I know in Kingdom 411 and some of the folks who left JWM to go to 411, their feedback was like, this was one of the best KVKs we've had in a while. We had a ton of action for hours and hours, tens of rallies, millions of dead troops. As a matter of fact, the paper released an article about this where apparently 3.3 billion troops got either injured or killed in the process on the first day of this fight for 411K. So that means that, I mean, it sounds ridiculous. I don't think that that's a real number. I think that that's maybe like in power, which would make more sense because that would mean like 300 million troops, which would make more sense. But 3.3 billion worth of losses was kind of insane. 430 taking a massive loss in here too. But I love the fact that they continually kept aggressing. And I do want to highlight it too, because the fact that there are 2 flags up on the top left, right where my name and power are, that are getting rallied by 411 did not stop 430 from pushing forward and doing their very best to aggress back. And that's really how you fight, right? You cannot always stay on the defense, or else you allow the other team to dictate the pace. And when the other team dictates the pace, it's trouble. The big mistake that 430 did here is what you're watching right now. And that is they did not coordinate their double rallies well enough. They had many potential situations where they could have doubled consistent rallies on 2 flags plus. In this situation, it's only 1 flag, but in a moment, that 1 flag is going to get another one right next to it as the 430 flag burns. And it's like, honestly, 430, A430 and M430 had to get better coordinated, and they just couldn't get it done. It was consistently 1 rally goes in, and then the other one goes in, and by the time the second one gets there, the first one's fairly weak, and then it gets swarmed and destroyed, and then the second one gets destroyed. I really think people need to start using anchors more. Anchors are troops that you send from a very far away into the rally, and the goal of them is the 2 rally leaders are on voice chat together, and then they say 3, 2, 1, and they release the march that is the anchor march. They send it back home, and when that happens, the 2 marches are essentially just waiting there, and they release together so that they get there together. Sometimes you say, okay, my march time is, and by the way, we'll stop that for a moment. Reports right there, 411K rally taking out an Artemisia y Sangye. We literally just saw the opposite, an Artemisia y Sangye holding really well against Natal Takeda, but this time around it did not. Again, it goes to show you the differences in stats and the differences both on the defensive stats as well as the aggressive offensive stats. This right here is the Richard Constantine trade-off, 110 to 122,000 troops. That's about a 10% more. That's a trade-off that 411K are willing to take any day of the week for just leaving that flag there. Johnny also aggressing on Tintin's flag. For the record, Tintin had gotten zeroed at this point. He healed up, went back into defending flags. That's how crazy that man is. Massive shout out to him in 430 because he's a real trooper. He got zeroed again a couple like yesterday or today, and it was just crazy. But massive shout out to the dude. He fought to the very end, and he kept fighting even after getting zeroed. And that's not something to take for granted. Take a look at this. A counter rally of Atel Takeda against Atel Takeda that for some reason did worse. In other counter rallies, we see the counter rally doing a lot better than the rally that's hitting the actual flag. Keep all those things in mind. Look at the numbers. Make sure you're staying smart and you don't just let someone tell you what you're looking at, essentially. That's the number one thing. Now, as you saw, a little water bottle never hurt anyone, but I needed to move that out of the way. That was making some noise and annoying the heck out of me. We're going to zoom out for a moment and take a peek at pink and purple. They were going at it. Purple were allied with red, and they were getting right now surrounded by pink and getting, this flag was getting massacred. These two flags were getting rallied and double rallied, and this was like, pink did a fantastic job in here at like pushing back as much as they could purple. They were double rallying the flag. There were counter rallies by purple on the rallies. These flags were burning for a little while, and red team in 411 realized they need to come help their allies. At some point they got here and they started rallying these flags too. 411 really, I feel like they sent 7, 8, 10, 15 rallies at a time, and that's not even like exaggerating. We at some point saw 5 rallies on the screen on stream that day, and they were rallying also this frontier. They were building downwards towards that frontier too. At some point they went around the ziggurat towards the other side as well. They just cleaned the map. Anything they could, anything that moved got hit by 411, and it was really, really, really nasty. Honestly, I don't think there's anything that can stop them at this point in these kinds of KVKs. Once they get paired up with folks like 341, 331, potentially 93 as well. I off the top of my head, 307, but 307 are really in a different kind of kingdom pool when it comes to KVKs. But once these guys get into a pool with some bigger players, or the bigger players come into their pool essentially, which will slowly and steadily end up happening, that's when 411 is going to have more difficulties. For now, they're just such a nasty, overly populated with goodies kingdom that it's not going to be easy at all to take them out. Now, as you see, they built towards pink, and after that happened, double rallies out the wazoo on those pink flags. 411 and their allies double rallying. There's rallies on 2 other flags. You're watching them up above me. It's just complete mayhem. Complete mayhem throughout this whole KVK. Now, we've been rambling for a good 20 minutes or so and giving y'all some juicy action. We got one more part coming up in this series very soon. Well, it'll come out tomorrow probably. And we'll talk a little bit more in depth about some strategic flagging, potentially some, I don't know, some trade-offs that we saw. Lots more reports. 411, massive shout out to them, by the way. They just quite literally spammed me with reports, and spammed me with reports. Not a bad thing, spammed in a good way. That we have tens of them, of tons and tons and tons of different results, of different combinations of Attila Takedas, as well as other combinations of defenses against Attila Takeda. I believe this is going to be the last time we're going to see that. Once Theodora comes into play, Theodora Wu do a really good job. Artemisia Theodora do a really good job. Artemisia YSS do a really good job at stopping Attila Takeda. And now we're going to start seeing more rallies happening of different types. They're going to try to essentially counter the hold that's made specifically for Attila Takeda. So it's going to be really interesting. The garrison game is changing, and slowly and steadily we're going to see folks with more than one type of combination of garrison. And based on whatever the rally that's sent is how you'll set up your garrison, to the point where initially there might be a double rally situation in the first rally because you have a Theodora YSS or something like that. An Edward Tamaris will come at you, so you'll swap that combination for a combination that's better against Edward Tamaris, such as like a Wuzetian YSG or something like that. And then the second rally that will come will be an Attila Takeda, and by the time that comes, you'll have to swap back to Attila Takeda garrison, or else it'll melt you down. So we're going to be seeing a shift in how war is fought very, very, very soon. I believe KVK Season 5 for me, and for the folks who are about to go into it, we'll see that happen already. We'll see a lot of Williams. We'll see a lot of Theodoras, YSSs, not that many Attila Takedas, but we'll still see a decent amount of them. I'm sure we're going to see other types of rallies, so I'm super pumped to see that in action. But in this KVK, it was all about Attila Takeda, and there are tens. They have a good easily 8 or 9 combinations of Attila Takedas in different stats and different levels in 411, and we got to show you all some of them in reports in this video. We will show you more of them in the next video. Now, you guys need to let me know, those of you who survived all the way to the end, do you want to see more reports? Do you want to see less reports? Do you want to see more action? I have tens of reports, and we can have like literally a whole video of reports. but I do like to mix action with some reports. Was that too little reports what you saw? Do you want more of those? Was that just enough to itch that itch that you want of reports? Let me know down below. For now, I'm Gekko. I'm out of here. I appreciate every single one of you. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, join my Discord, followed me on Instagram, Twitter, and all that good stuff. I'll see you all tomorrow for one more part of this Lost Kingdoms madness as we continue tracking 411 and the destruction that they wreak across the board in massive kills and an insanely fun KVK for them. I'll see y'all sooner rather than later. Thank you again for all your continuous support. Peace.